Okay, dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, we are finally going to talk about those unreleased heroes, and there are going to be 4 of them I'm going to cover in this video. I actually initially wanted to just talk about normal heroes, and for normal heroes we do have 3 of them, and they are Heavenia, Hayoung and Ariel. But somehow I thought that Xiangyu was also a normal hero, but he's not. He is a hidden master, so he's a special hero, but he's not Mythical Awakened, and he is one of the last heroes that was not released before Mythical Awakening happened. And these are the typings that I have given each of them. Only Xiangyu could be different because I decided to give him universal typing instead, so to make the video more diverse. So we're gonna start with Heavenia first, and for Heavenia, I had this idea of making her a very good physical support hero, okay, for the physical team in PvE. Now if you do want to use her in PvP, I think it is still possible, but you may have to watch out for her stats, right? So for her passive, she's gonna increase offensive type allies damage dealt to defensive and universal type. The idea behind this is mainly stemming from item rate initially, okay, because if you look at item rate, you realize that Rosie is being used in level 9. I know some players, very strong players, may not be using Rosie, okay, but for a lot of other players, we are still gonna use Rosie to overcome the damage that we take from level 9 raid. And that's really all she does, okay, to be on that team, to heal and to reduce the damage taken, okay. But what if you could actually have a better buffer instead? And that's my idea for Heavenia. She also provides cooldown increase because the Stormwing does apply cooldown increases to your team, so you really want to have that immunity, okay, and that also helps your Mei have an additional trait instead of relying on cooldown increase resistance traits as well as cooldown increase jewels for that matter. Now, in addition to that, in PvE mode only, she will increase the crit damage and lethal damage of all allies by 10% each turn. This is similar to Live Streamer Skull's passive as well as Yuri's passive. So over here, what I'm trying to do is to have a very good support hero in place of Rosie, and you may even use her over Yuri in certain special dungeons as well. Now, not only that, you can use Heavenia in Guild Raid because you'll be using Mei against Galidus, and I think this is one potential hero that you can also bring in to deal more damage to Galidus as well. But at the end of everything, we will talk about the modes again, where she can be used properly. So I hope this passive is actually strong enough and very applicable to what we can do in the game right now. And honestly, I would love to have a hero like that. Now for her skill 1, it is a non-damaging skill. It will decrease the cooldown of allies by 30 seconds. So this is very good to reduce the cooldown for Mei if you're using her with Mei. And she will also decrease the 5 target attack damage taken by all allies by 40% for 8 turns. This is basically what I plucked out from Rosie's passive, because Rosie is pretty much there to reduce 5 target attack damage, and I think just to be safe, we still do need that. So I put it on her active skill so that you can actually reapply that when needed, and also at the same time cool down Mei's skill cooldown, which is gonna be very efficient. Now not only that, in PvE, she will further decrease the crit and lethal rate of all enemies by 50% for 8 turns. So I think this is a very good skill that can complement with Yuri's top skill, whereby Yuri can reduce the attack stat of the enemies, whereas for Heavenia, she can help to reduce the other damage multipliers of the enemies as well, and this will really protect you in terms of receiving way less damage. Now for skill 2, she deals 300% to 4 enemies and they cannot block for 3 turns. This is the block nullification mechanic as found on Fenrir. I think that it's good to have another hero in the entire roster that can do this, because I realize only Fenrir and Reginlave have the potential to do this. So I think another hero having this, especially in the PvE context and able to hit up to 4 enemies, is actually pretty good. Now for her awakened skill, she deals 400% physical damage to 4 enemies, ignores 50% defense, and also has a chance to freeze. Now you may think that this is not very good at all in PvE context, and yes, I do agree, but I really wanted to have an effect that fitted the animation, which is Heavenia causing an avalanche. So I think freeze is definitely one of the most suitable effects to have here, and I tried to buff the damage at least for this awakened skill so that it hits slightly decent. For her exclusive item, okay, for stage 1, she is able to reduce 2-turn buff duration. I think this is very lacking in PvE, so she can not only block nullify, on 4 enemies, she can also decrease buff duration of these 4 enemies by 2 turns. And I think this is pretty lacking in PvE, whereby we do not have enough heroes or support heroes that actually can reduce buff durations. And I think it's very efficient if you have her on the team compared to having Jack instead. Because I think the skill set of Jack, apart from having the decrease in buff duration by 2 turns, his other skills doesn't really help much in PvE. Whereas, you know, if you have this on a hero with a good skill set for PvE, then I think it's much better. For stage 2, she will gain block weight of 10% for more defense, and for stage 3, for her awakened skill, which was previously not very good for PvE, I gave her an additional effect to decrease counter rate by 50% for 8 turns. So as you know, this is also part of Rosie's passive. I literally just took apart Rosie's passive and tried to fit in to the different parts for Heavenia so that she is actually very usable. Even her awakened skill will have some use in PvE if you really do need to use it. But I think with a level 40 Heavenia, every new returning player or veteran will be able to use her to her maximum potential. And finally, for her effect attack, she has 50% chance to launch it, and she will decrease attack of the enemy. Overall, I feel that she is an extremely good support hero if she is given this skill set, and you can use her in raid, guild raid against Galliders. Castle Rush is definitely good because we have a lot of universal heroes there and defensive ones as well, except Dylan's. Brawl is also very good because Leonid is actually defensive, so this will help in certain weeks that require you to use physical teams. And Guild Dungeon, of course, especially you can use a team like Mei, Colt, Fenrir, Sylvia, and Heavenia, for instance. I think that is going to be good, especially with the cooldown increase immunity provided by Heavenia here. She will definitely find a spot on that team. Now moving on to Hayoung, I gave Hayoung a very interesting skill set, and I didn't exactly make her PvE oriented, even though some parts are PvE oriented, okay? So for her passive, she's able to decrease all enemies' physical and magic attack by 5% each turn, up to 50%, so that takes 10 turns. I didn't make her, you know, reduce 10% each turn because I think that is similar to what Jack and Anti has, and that is a prime hero level kind of thing. So 5% each turn I think is still okay. Then she also has a very new kind of effect, that is, when an ally uses an effect attack, she will increase the ally's effect attack chance by 30% for 3 turns. And during which these 3 turns, you cannot apply the buff again and again and again. So you have to wait for the entire 3 turns to be over, then it is possible to reapply this buff. And if you think about it, you can use her in PvE, you can use her in PvP, and I know Valika has 100% effect attack rate, but for Mei this is a huge thing, okay? And for heroes in PvP like Abel, for Dylan, for Yonhee, they're all gonna benefit from this very well, if you can find a spot for her, of course. For her skill 1, she deals 20,000 fixed damage to 5 enemies, and also has attack amplification. This is something that we've seen from Orly, okay, so far only found on Orly, and I think pre-reboot Hayoung also had this ability to amplify attack. How amplification works is that it will buff physical attack and magic attack on top of any other increases that have already been applied to your party. So this is going to push your physical attack and magic attack stat much higher for 3 hits, applying to both skills and basic attacks. And for her skill 2, she deals magic damage equal to 20% of her max HP to 5 enemies. This is similar to what Rosie has on her skill. I think it is a pretty cool mechanic, but I'm not sure why they didn't take it further to other heroes as well. So I think it's very nice if we can have that again on Hayoung, who is also a support hero and should have pretty decent HP stats. She will also decrease buff duration by 1 turn and remove debuffs from all allies on this skill as well. So if you think about it, this is actually a very good skill to start off a PvP match with. And even in PvE, I think it's also decent because you can cleanse with this, you can also reduce buff duration with this on 5 enemies, so that's pretty good. Awakened skill, she will apply skill notification to all allies 1 time. She will also increase the damage from your back row allies 1 to 3 target attacks by 50% for 6 turns, and in PvE this is gonna be 100% for 12 turns, which is something similar to what we have on Valika. Valika's top skill is able to buff her own single target damage by 100% for 12 turns, but this is going to be better than Valika instead because it will apply to 1 to 3 target attacks. So the idea behind this when giving her this is also to help her become a very good support hero in Heavenly Stairs, whereby she can support Abel's damage as well. And if you think about this in PvP, you can also use her to support Dylan's, Abel, heroes that do not deal damage to 4 to 5 enemies. And that is actually pretty rare in PvP these days. So it's quite conditional, but then again it's on the awaken skill, so she will not be able to reapply this buff after it has ended unless you do reset her awaken skill. And having skill nullification here is going to be very helpful when you can use her in Isabella raid for PvE as well. So for her exclusive item, for stage 1, on her skill 1, she'll have to heal everyone by 30% of her magic attack for 3 turns. So this is a turn by turn based healing, which we have not seen for a very long time because most of the heals in the game are once off, right? The only time you saw this was Live Streamer Scope's release, and that was actually pretty helpful because it can help you control the amount of healing that you can do and at the same time maintain your DPS's damage, especially if your DPS is running a Berserker Ring effect. So this is going to be good for PvE and also good for PvP tank teams if you think about it. So I think with Hayoung, you will probably also see a very strong tank team coming back. Stage 2 will increase her recovery rate, allowing her to heal more. And for stage 3, this is very unique, whereby if there is another support hero on your team, Hayoung will be treated as a magic hero instead. So why did I design this for Hayoung? Now, we know that in PvP right now, or in PvE, support heroes are seldom used. And when they are used, they kind of spoil the combination of heroes in your team. And sometimes because of that, you probably won't even want to use them, especially when you have Rin. Okay, because Rin requires 4 magic heroes to be on team. And with 1 DPS at the back, it's sometimes very difficult to have more than 1 support hero, especially if they are useful, right? So I know that Daya and Rosie are both used in PvE, which is pretty good, but just imagine having Hayoung as well. Hayoung is a very good support based on what I've given her, right? So in order for her to be able to be used, and alongside other very good supporters like Daya and Rosie, I gave her this passive so that you can still have a 4 magic hero team combination with 1 support hero. And we know that Daya and Rosie do increase magic attack of your entire team. So this will also benefit Hayoung in terms of her healing, and Hayoung will be a great supporter for any sort of magic team, whether it is PvE or PvP. Okay, so that is overall what I feel Hayoung really deserves. For her effect attack, she will reduce her own skill cooldown if she does land it, and I think these are the modes that Hayoung will be really good in raid of course. I think you can use her in dual raid or accessory raid to do a lot of damage in a very short period of time. Guild raid is also good because in terms of her skill set, you can use her to do heavy damage on Isabella and also have skill nullification at the same time. She also decreases Isabella's magic attack, so I'm trying to get her to replace Anti that I've used before in my Isabella raid video. Heavenly Stairs is great because she will support Abel, Guild Dungeon also good, and in Arena you can run her in a tank team or magic team or even a universal team if you like. So let me know what you guys think of Hayoung after hearing all this. And honestly, I'm super excited about my own creation, so I would love to hear your feedback. Next up, we have Ariel. She was Mythical Awakened not too long ago and she didn't receive the same treatment that we got from new Special Heroes Mythical Awakening, so her animations are completely the same, which is very unfortunate. Okay, for her passive, she will provide stun immunity and also reduce fixed damage and HP reduction dealt to allies by 30%. Now this is pretty new. I know there's a lot of heroes with stun immunity, but I mainly wanted her to be used in dual raid as well as accessory raid because in both of those raids, the enemies do stun, right? So I really wanted her to be used there and to help reduce the damage that Demon of Destruction could potentially do to you through the HP reduction decrease. That is something new in the game. I think no hero has that kind of effect to reduce HP reduction. You either get HP control immunity like from Fenrir or nothing at all. Okay, so I think having this new mechanic in the game is going to add some diversity to the raid teams as well. Don't forget that Ariel was also previously used in Castle Rush, So for skill 1, I kept it pretty much the same, except that I reduced the target count, and she does not apply crit rate anymore, but that doesn't really matter since she's not a damage dealer, but she still continues to remove shields, so you can still use her in Castle Rush if you really want to. For her skill 2, she will deal 600% to one enemy. This is buffed from her Awakened form, which dealt 500%. She will also decrease the damage that all allies take by 40% for 8 turns, and she will also taunt the target. So this is pretty much the same as what she had with her Awakened skill set. But I added the damage decrease for her so that you will be able to reduce damage taken from your raid bosses or wherever else she is used, like in Castle Rush as well, you can reduce damage taken. For her Awakened skill, she will increase block rate by 50% and decrease the enemy's block rate by 50%. So this is also the same as what she was able to do in her Awakened form. However, in addition to that, in order to make her useful, as I mentioned, in PvE, she will also increase the status effect resist rate of your allies by 50% and also decrease the status effect cast rate of your enemies by 50%. So this will really help in dual rate level 9, whereby the Numo Wang is so annoying and he can stun you and cast silence on you even with very high resistance, and this is supposed to help you mitigate that so that you can open up your trade slots, in case you really need more damage dealt on Numo Wang. And with Ariel's Awakened skill here, you will be able to do so because she will have to readjust all the status effect casting on you, and you can proceed with a smoother run. This is only PvE exclusive. Now for her exclusive item, I gave her the passive to decrease block rate of all enemies by 40% because I realized that other than Regenleif and Mist and Zahara, we don't really have magic heroes doing that. And I think I really want a hero that can reduce block rate immediately landing on the field without having turns go by like Regenleif, which will take pretty long. So you can use Ariel instead over Regenleif in certain cases, and this will be very helpful because Ariel is also a magic hero and she can fit in very nicely in magic team competitions. For stage 2, she gets defense, and for stage 3, her skill 1 increases back row allies awakened gauges by 3. What does this mean? This is the same skill that removes shields, but at the same time it will also charge your back row allies awaken gauge faster, which means faster awaken skills from Velika if you use her with Velika. And I think that's very helpful because sometimes Velika does take a while to charge, and for many players who do not have sufficient increased awakening gauge jewels, or maybe you need certain other guild buffs in guild dungeon, this will come in very handy. And also in a raid situation, this will also be very good to let you end the run faster. For her effect attack, she will actually heal herself by 50% of her magic attack, so this will help you to prolong her survivability. And of course, for the modes, raid is definitely going to be one area she can be used. Castle Rush as well, kept it the same. Guild Dungeon is possible. Siege Defense because she does reduce fixed damage taken, so that's going to be pretty good. And she can also be used in Brawl on certain weeks when Leonid does stun you. So her stun immunity will come in pretty clutch, and she has other effects that can help as well. So let me know what you guys think of Ariel after hearing all this. I just simply upgraded her and made her more efficient for current gameplay, so I think it is not something that is too overboard but pretty decent. Now moving on to Xiangyu, whom I kind of forgot was a special hero, but it's okay, here we are. I decided that, at this point, just make him a farmer for us to, make things more varied. Instead of having us rely on Yonhee all the way or relying on Abel, I think having one more farmer who can make our life easier is, not too bad. So for his passive, he will increase his crit rate and crit damage by 40%. And yes, in Adventure, he has a special passive, and that's pretty similar to Yonhee's boom effect as well as Regenleif's boom effect. That is, every basic attack, he will activate the boom effect on 3 enemies. Okay, so for Yonhee and Regenleif, they activate the boom effect every 3rd attack on all enemies, but for him, he will activate the boom effect on every basic attack on 3 enemies. So that means he can clear each stage with just 1 or maybe 2 basic attacks. Because in a stage where you face, 5 enemies, if he only casts 1 basic attack, that's only going to probably kill 4 out of 5 enemies, right? So there is still a little catch there, okay? But overall, he should be way more efficient than all your other farmers, okay? And Yeah, I mean, he won't interfere with future Mythical Awakenings, right? So players can safely Mythical Awaken their Yeonhee and Abel without having a need to have a duplicate copy. And I think that is possibly one of the best things that can happen now. Because no one is also gonna wait 1000 days for Winter No-Ho. And for skill 1, he will deal 500% to one enemy and ignore 70% defense. As an awakened hero, I think this is decent. I'm not gonna add too many effects because it will look insanely unbalanced, so please bear that in mind. For his skill 2, he will deal 250% physical damage to 5 enemies and also increase the damage by 50% for each empty enemy slot. This has the potential to become very powerful, and please bear in mind that he will also benefit from the 1 and 5 target fighter soul buff. So his skills have the potential to hit pretty hard on their own apart from his own basic attack boom effects, which could make him a pretty good Heavenly Stairs DPS as well, okay, in the lower floors. But you know, that is again subject to animation time, and maybe some people may still think that Espada and Jave are much better. And for his Awaken skill, he will do 300% physical damage to 5 enemies and also launch a chain attack when an enemy dies. So I'm really trying to make him pretty strong above all the current Hidden Masters, but at the same time also not too overpowered. And I think with a multiplier like that, I think it is still gonna be pretty decent, okay? Because his stats aren't going to be that high anyway. And for his exclusive item, he will reset his Awaken skill. So is he useful now? I think so. I think so. And I think with a resetting chain attack, that is going to be pretty decent for and efficient in certain cases when the need does arise. For his second stage, he will increase his lethal rate by 20%, so he not only has high crit rate, he also has a base 26% lethal rate as well. And for his passive, in Adventure again, he will incapacitate offensive and magic type enemies without any other criteria. And bear in mind, he's a universal hero, okay? So he incapacitates offensive and magic type enemies. He will be very useful in farming in World 15-10, where you face Freyas that survive on 1 HP. Not gonna happen anymore. He will also be useful if you want to farm in 14-5, which was previously not recommended because there was Brans and Brenzel, Sylvester that survived on 1 HP and also become immortal. So having this in place, you have a proper farmer that can slap and clear adventure stages with no problem at all. And I mean, at this point, Xiangyu deserves it because he has been missing in action for so long. So let me know what you guys think of Xiangyu and all the other heroes that have been mentioned. Hopefully you find that these skill sets are not overpowered and decent and reasonable to be released. I hope to see them soon as well. And if you did enjoy this video, do give a like and subscribe to my channel. Big shout out to my channel members ZMD Phoenix, Yamaki, Hibiku and Reggie Bautista for the support. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much and see you!